I've had a few interesting discussions recently with several different clients about what I see as the problems with fixed prices, and I thought others might find the idea interesting, so I've put this short presentation together as a way of sharing it. Actually, I don't have any problems with fixed prices as such. They make a lot of sense in many circumstances, and in a lot of what we buy in our personal and business life, they're exactly the right thing to do. And they make budgeting and financial planning nice and neat. But they've got one big drawback, and it's particularly relevant when what we're buying has got significant cost drivers that are subject to natural uncertainty and variability. And the drawback is surprisingly costly for organisations, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this short presentation. There's lots of things that organisations buy that are like this, with the high levels of uncertainty. They range from transportation, where who knows what fuel costs are going to do in the future, to a manufacturer who uses high levels of, say, electricity or other energy source, or the materials are subject to the vagaries of commodity prices, or they don't know what other orders they're going to have, so their capacity loading, their fixed cost recovery is uncertain, and major capex and investment projects. Now, capex and investment projects, construction projects, are what really interest me. Globally, this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, spends a fortune every year, and it's one that's not performing as well as it could, and there's significant potential to improve it. And of course, capex projects have got high levels of uncertainty, especially from work coming out that's carried by people. And this can represent well over half the cost of a project, from resources such as the project management team itself, specialist advisors, designers, and of course the people who build the project, the construction workers and contractors and subcontractors. Now, despite the inherent uncertainty, the industry still loves fixed prices, and I find that strange. If I was to ask anybody working on a project, how long will the drive home take them, their answer would be something along the lines, well, on average it'll take 50 minutes, if I'm lucky it will take 30, but if there's problems it could easily take 2.5 hours. Now, that's not a complex project, it's something they've done hundreds of times before, they're not predicting months if not years into the future, but everyone still accepts that there's uncertainty about it. It's not that they're a good or bad driver, it's just the way of the world. Now, come back into the office, and it seems project managers and senior managers responsible for projects hate that natural uncertainty. We love fixed prices. We love fixed deadlines for time. It's the norm. Yes, it's convenient. Yes, it allows clients to plan the budgets more easily, to allocate funds. It makes contractor selection simple. Of course, anybody could tell which number at the bottom of a complex bid is the smaller number. Hey presto, we know the best supplier. So what's the drawback that I claimed existed with fixed prices if it's got all these areas of convenience? Well, the problem is you pay a hell of a price premium for that convenience. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a very simple simulation of a project with 10 work packages, A to J. Now each is independent, so the costs incurred and therefore the price that's going to be quoted by a supplier or subcontractor A, there'll be some potential variation in it. And that's shown in this particular image or graph, which shows that at any particular price, so the average price, twice the average, less than the average, has a certain probability of being achieved. Such that by definition, average means that in half the circumstances, the price will be that value or less. Now, of course, if we're bidding on a fixed price basis, a contractor with this sort of distribution of costs and price would be stupid to bid the average price. What it means is in half the circumstances, they need more money than they've got in their bid to deliver what they're promised and committed. So what actually happens when we turn it into fixed prices is the bids are nowhere near the average. They're much more closely to the area shown in this picture, which is a reliable figure. Now, whether it's 80% or 90% or 95% will depend how good each party is at negotiation and how desperate the suppliers are for the work. But it will be something like that. Even in this case, there's a 1 in 5 chance that the supplier's costs will be more than their bid price, so they will suffer some serious financial pain in 1 in 5 projects. And in 4 out of 5 times, they'll have enough money in the budget to cover their costs and to make some degree of profit. But of course, bidding the average price is crazy commercial suicide. Now, based on this simple simulation of how the costs and prices of an individual work package could vary, I set up a very simple simulation using this simple 10 work package scenario. And basically in my distribution, about 1 in 3 work packages would overspend, and there's a 2 in 3 chance that it would cost less than this reliable bid price. And the reliable bid price turned out to be about 50% more than the average price. So here are the 2 cases that I looked at. My baseline comparison case is the most common approach used in projects today, where we get fixed prices from each of the separate bidders and subcontractors. So that's the numbers down here, ranging from F, which is at 14 million, to J, which is a small 4 million package. These numbers represent that 70 to 80% reliable, highly probable price and cost. And when the project manager adds those up, it comes to a project value there of 86 million. And then I thought, well, what would happen if we just let each project's cost vary naturally and the project reimburse whatever it cost? So the 1 in 3 of them that spent more than what would be the fixed price bids got that reimbursed, and those that it cost less got it reimbursed but still made a fair margin on it. And that's my second simulation. Pay whatever it costs with some sort of variable price contracts. So when we added the average results up, that came to 63 million. That's starting to imply that the convenience of fixed pricing in this simple scenario, realistic scenario, but still quite simple, is 40% premium. That's what the client is paying for the convenience of the certainty, in inverted commas, of fixed price contracting. Let's look at that in a bit more detail. So here's a result of the first 20 simulations that I ran. The orange line is showing the 86 million. So if we used what I've called in this graph the safe price, adding up the fixed prices, and that's what the project budgeting is. The blue line is what if you just let the prices of each work package vary according to that distribution that I showed and pay those. And here's what happens. Wow. Not once in 20 times did it ever add up to more than that. What that means is that we didn't get 6 of the work packages at the same time, all overspending and the others being fairly high. What it meant was the overspent was easily compensated by the underspend relative to the safe fixed price bidding. Wow, so that's a price premium. So here's the average value. Now, of course, to operate and exploit this is simple on some graphs and talking about the mathematics. Now, behaviourally, it involves change to all sorts of things, including how senior management manage the performance and reward the performance of individual projects or portfolios of projects, how you manage budgets and topics like that. I'm not going to get into those in this discussion. What I am showing is what the potential is. If you can master that, there's an enormous amount of money potentially wasted through the wrong use of fixed price lump sum contracting. Now, as we can see here, the risk premium, which is shown in the bars, it ranges from nearly 80 or 90% at this low price contract down to 3 or 4%. But every single one of them had a risk premium. Okay, so this is a simple simulation, but it does reflect reality. The mathematics underlying the overall idea that I've just shown is robust. In fact, it's the basis of the whole of the insurance industry. The summary is the best place to manage uncertainty is at the highest aggregate level, not the lowest. Now, on a project, that means managing the uncertainty, allocating budgets to whoever needs it, but retaining that uncertainty budget at the project level, and definitely not pushing the financial responsibility down the project supply chain. It's the wrong thing to do. Might seem as convenient, but it comes at a significant price premium, as we've just shown. It also makes the project longer, as well as more expensive, and actually less likely to be on schedule and budget. And if you work in oil and gas and you've just had to cut significant numbers of projects from your capital program because of the squeeze on availability of capital funds, maybe you could have kept a significant proportion of the projects you had to cut if you'd not insisted on fixing prices. Now, of course, in reality, you might not be able to get all the benefit that I did in my simulation, but it won't be far away. You will need to replace your fixed price contracting approach with a suitable commercially sound alternative. Now, these aren't complicated to do, and they are available. It's just that they're not common, and there's not many people who know how to implement them and what to do, basically. But is it a good way to manage your business, just allowing people to do what they want to because it's what they're familiar with and what they're convenient with and what they're trained in and what they did last time? Look at the size of the pot of gold. 40% price premium. No, it won't be easy to change, but it will be worth it. This image just shows the same data from my simulation done in a different format as a probability distribution. If you'd gone the fixed price route, yes, you had a high probability of your project costing $86 million. If you'd allowed it to vary, you had a very high probability of it costing less than that. The only thing you don't know in advance is how much you would save. I know what I would do if this was my money. Now, this idea of risk offloading and the premium it attracts applies in many areas of procurement. But if, like me, you've got a passion for CapEx and construction projects and you really want to do something about the issues and the problems that they've got, this idea of the risk premium for offloading the risk doesn't only apply to money, it also applies to time. And if you can deliver a project in less time and at a lower cost, whether you're a client or a contractor, it can have a great big impact on your business. Now, I felt so passionate about this and the lack of awareness of the issues and the ways in which they can be overcome that I wrote a book about it, and that will be published later on this summer. And if you don't mind, I'd like to spend a few minutes just at the end of this presentation giving those of you who are interested in a CapEx project an outline and understanding of what's in the book and why it might be worth it for you to get hold of a copy when it's published later this month. For those of you who have no interest at all in CapEx projects, just leaves me to say thanks very much for listening this far. I hope you found some of the explanation on why fixed prices might not be the best thing in some circumstances. You found it interesting and stimulating, and I look forward to seeing your comments and discussions on the web page where you see this video. Please join in the discussion. Now, I've written the Executive Guide to Breakthrough Project Management with Robert Bolton. Robert's an Australian consultant, like me, spent his early career in the construction sector, CapEx projects, and in the book we describe why the most common approaches used in this type of project today for planning and procurement actually do the opposite of what's intended. They're designed to make things better, but they actually make things worse. And this isn't only about fixing prices and pushing risk down the project work breakdown structure. No, we're talking about scheduling, we're talking about selection methods, we're talking about how we contract and contract forms, and we talk about execution management and even how teams are led. And we wrote the book not just to share our analysis of the problems in projects. Heck, there's plenty of discussion available around the world on what the problems are, but to offer ways to overcome them. And like in the simple example of fixed prices, the recommendations that we're giving have got very solid foundations, and they've been proven in projects large and small all over the world, just not in the CapEx and construction sectors. That's why we wrote the book, to make people aware of just what's possible. Now, what we found was that the root cause of many of the problems seen today in major CapEx projects boil down to two things. One, how projects are planned and controlled, and two, how the key members of the project supply chain are selected and contracted with. And these two things go together. Our recommendations suggest that you look at both contracting and procurement and planning and execution. And it's the combination of changes working in synergy that brings such significant improvement potential. Now, following the recommendations that Robert and I share in the Executive Guide to Breakthrough Project Management, gives clients the potential to double their return on investment, whilst at the same time not squeezing contractors, but allowing the supply chain to at least double their profit margins. Now, make sure you don't miss out. If CapEx projects are a key part of your role, stick your email address in on our website and we'll make sure that you know when the book's available to buy. Please share this, share the book website, maybe even share this video with any friends and colleagues who you think would be interested, particularly those who could benefit from learning how CapEx projects can be delivered on time in less time, but on budget at lower cost, and at the same time without having to compromise on scope or quality. This is Ian Heptinstall, and thanks very much for listening.